We are just about at the top of the hour, and we want to welcome you to the office hours section webinar for the August month. And this one is titled SmartList with Applied Documents. We are glad and excited to have you with us today. And we want to show you some of the power behind Dynamics GP and maybe show you some things that you didn't know that you had access to already. Rather than having to own SmartList Builder, Natalie Avery is going to go through building a SmartList with applied documents in the SmartList or Designer. And
Yes, that is true.
we want you to make sure that you know how that you have this tool available to you, and that there's probably a lot more at your disposal for GP than what you may realize. So we welcome Natalie as our presenter today. She's a senior GP consultant who has a very deep knowledge of Dynamics GP, as well as SQL and many reporting tools. And while Natalie has extensive knowledge and experience and expertise with Dynamics GP and how all this information fits together, she's going to show you how to make this information more available and relevant to you as well as your team. By getting this information through some SmartList. So as we go through this webinar, please let us know if you've got any questions. Welcome to put them in the chat. You're welcome to raise your hand. And at this point, I will turn it over to Natalie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So today we are going to talk about building smart lists, because GP doesn't give this to you. Building a smart list where you have a document that could be a payable invoice, payable credit memo, and we're also going to talk about the receivable side. So it could be a receivables invoice and how did it get paid? You know, everybody wants to know that. So we are going to build a quick smart list. I'm going to talk about the tables. Go over here. So we're going to talk about how do you find these tables? How do you know what their names are to even bring them into a smart list? How do we link them together? And we'll also be going over, validating your data, because if you build a new smart list, you cannot just trust it right off the bat. You build it, you have to know, okay, I know that this invoice was paid by this check, and I'm going to go see if the smart list is really giving me that information. That is, what we call validating. The other thing is, what I'm going to be showing you today is using the SmartList Designer feature, which comes with your GP. But if you have SmartList Builder, it's much easier. And if you do have questions regarding SmartList Builder, we can definitely answer those too. But I wanted to start with the base feature that we know everyone has. So we will move on. And I did talk about this validating, and then when we're done, when you create these new smart lists, not everybody can see them. If you're a power user, you can probably see them, but sometimes you have to, if you're using security in GP, which, we do recommend, you will have to give security rights to your users to see these new objects that get created. So we'll talk about that at the end. So first thing we do is we have to find these tables. And because when we go to pull them up in the smart list, there's going to be this list of all these tables named, and it's usually a good idea to figure out which ones we need. In this particular case, I've shown you that we're going to talk about the payable side first. So I'm going to go back really quick. So on this one, we have this little button here. So I've told you that you go to tools in the dropdown, resource descriptions, and then once this tables comes up, you'll see this window pop up, and it really not the best looking window, but we deal with it. So there's a 3-dot button right there. Once you click on it, you will see this list. First, it shows up in the series of financial. So we just have to switch that little series to purchasing. And then I like to sort it by physical name. It defaults to sorting by its actual display name. Any way you want to look at it is the right way. There's no wrong way, to sort this. I like to look at it sorted by the table names because I live in those tables all the time. But What we are going to focus on today is payable transaction open. Now, I will point out that we have GP, as you all probably know, has 3 types of tables. We have work, which means it's in the entry screens and it hasn't been posted yet. Open, from the payable side means I put the invoice in, but it's not fully paid yet. And then there's history. And history means we put it in, we posted it, it fully is paid, and it got sent to the pastor in the history table. But we're just going to look at open today. There are ways to combine them all. It's a little more work. And if that is something you are interested in, you can definitely reach out. We're happy to help you. So again, I talk about looking at, you know what? I got a little ahead of myself over here. So PM transaction table, that's going to be our first table. That is our list of all open documents. That would be invoices, credit memos. I don't think we do debit memos on that side. And it will even list your payments in there too. So payment types or document types, we're going to be paying attention to that. So I'm going to go to the next. So we also need to think about the fields that we want to see. Obviously we want to see vendor numbers, document dates, document numbers. On the payable side, we also get voucher numbers. So those are important as well. Original document amounts, current balances. Those are different than your original document amounts. So keep that in mind. So the first thing that you do if you have SmartList Designer is you open SmartList and you click new. If you do not have that new button enabled or it's grayed out, that means you do not have security rights. You will have to talk to your IT staff or your GP admin and ask them to open that up for you. Then you get this screen. So this is again SmartList Designer. This is not what SmartList Builder. SmartList Builder is a little more user-friendly if you have it. But we are sticking with SmartList Designer today. So the first thing that you need to do is give your SmartList a name. In this one, I have named it PM Transaction Apply Open because I'm using the open table. Then I go down to this list that you see here. So that list, first thing you want to do in this list, because you will see a bunch of stuff in there. You want to fish through that list and find Microsoft Dynamics GP, and it's in alphabetical order. And you're going to expand that Microsoft Dynamics GP folder and look through your tables. They are going to be named just like you saw them in that table's description. So that is why I said pay attention to the names, take screenshots and throw them off to the side, write them down, whatever works best for you. Then you're going to check the box. So we're going to hunt for our PM transaction open file that we saw a couple slides ago. We're going to check that. And if you just check the box next to the name, it grabs every single field in that table. There are a lot of fields in that table. Nobody wants them all. So I would expand that table and then start clicking off just the fields that you want. In my example here, you can see that we picked voucher number, vendor number, document type. Document type tells me if it's an invoice or a credit memo or a payment. The date, always important. And, sometimes you're going to want to see GL posting date too, which we all know is a separate field and separate information. In here, I've grabbed document number, document amount, which is the original amount, not the amount that is, so if there was a partial payment against something, the current transaction amount, which is the next field in there, that's the one you're going to want to see because that's the one that is the current balance of what you owe. And then I grabbed some other stuff that I like to see, like batch number, transaction source number. If I need to go find it in general ledger, that's a useful field with data in it. If I want the PO number, the due date, you can scroll through and pick what you want. And as you check them, you will see them show up in this little area over here. And like I said, if you check that whole box right there, you get all of the fields. It's a lot. Then, once we have the fields we like from this table, we're going to go find, I meant to. This might be a little small, and I apologize if it's too small to read. So I then scroll down my list a little bit. Actually, I have to scroll up because it's alphabetical. So I'm going to go look for PM apply to work open is the name of this one, which tells me this table stores unposted applies and posted applies. And once they get fully paid off, they go to history. Just like I mentioned before, and I will probably mention again. So we're going to go through and again, select our apply to fields. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about these fields in this table because in my opinion, they can be kind of confusing. And you have to kind of keep in mind that they kind of stick to a schema here. So if it says apply to, that means there was a payment or a credit memo that was applied to something. So it was applied to an invoice. Usually that's an invoice. So there are other fields in this table that start with apply from. Apply from is always the payment, like a check that you wrote, an ACH that you wrote, or a credit memo that you posted. So that is the payment side of the document. So the apply from is always going to be the payment. And that is important when we go to start linking these, because we're going to revisit this. The open table has all of our invoices. We'll just stick with that. And those are the apply tos. So we are going to, let me get to that next slide. Down in this section, we're going to link. We are going to link our two tables together. And in this slide, and I don't know, are Margaret or Nicole, are we publishing this slide deck for the users?
Yes, we can share this.
Okay, great. Good. Because that'll be helpful for you. Because this is a lot of information. So right here, I tell you exactly what to link together. And voucher numbers, I like voucher numbers because they are unique. They are system generated, and I trust them more than I trust document numbers. Document numbers come from the vendor. They could be the same as somebody else's document numbers. So I have stuck to, so from my open, and you can see in this little area that doesn't have very good visibility, I start with PM transaction open. You can just see the beginning of it, but I know that it's not the apply table. And then I choose my voucher in the field, and then I choose a left join. I always choose a left join because it's going to give me everything in my open table, my transaction open table, and then anything it finds that it links to the apply table. If I use an inner join, then it is only going to show me where they both match up together. So I won't, if I have documents that haven't been applied to yet, they'll just disappear. I won't get to see them at all. So left join is the way to go. That way I get to see everything in this left-hand column and anything that it finds in the right-hand column that might match. So we pick voucher number and we join it to the apply to voucher number. And like I said, we want apply to because that is going to be the invoice number from the transaction open table. And we go find that invoice number in the apply table, but it is going to pull back for us the apply from. I'm probably being very confusing and I apologize for that. So we use voucher number, vendor ID, and doc type. Doc type is important because if you are using voucher numbers in payments and voucher numbers that are similar in your invoices, those could get duplicated. We try, if we implemented you, we try not to allow that to happen, but we see it occasionally. So doc type is super important. And on the other side, we choose all apply tos. So apply to voucher number, vendor ID, and then apply to document type. Even though we can't see it, that is the choice that I made. And right here in this area, you can see what the names need to be. We're going to move on. No, did I go too far? Did. So here, I am just being redundant and trying to really drive the point home of apply to, apply from. Apply to is the invoice, and apply from is the payment or credit memo. So once we have those 3 links built, I always click this execute query button right here. You can see my red arrow, and down at the bottom, you should see results. If you do not see results, then we have to go and figure out why. Hopefully, if you follow the directions, you will see results. If you do not see results, let us know. We are happy to help. And if you don't, it's usually in the linking. They're usually we picked a bad field and it can't find it, so it just returns nothing. So it says click the OK button. I'm going to pop back to that last slide, and you will see there is an OK button right next to the execute query. And when we are done and we are happy, we've given it a name. And you know what I did not point out to you? That is over here, this series, that's a drop down, and it lists all the modules. Whatever you choose there is where this smart list is going to get saved in your list of smart lists. So you want to pick an appropriate area. I chose purchasing because it's a purchasing smart list. Once you're happy with all of your selections, you can see data at the bottom. We're going to click the OK button. And here is the smart list. So you'll see your brand new smart list in the list under the purchasing folder. And it will give you all. Now, from here, you can click the search button. You can filter it based on dates. You can filter it based on vendor numbers, any of the fields that we've added to the smart list. You can save favorites against it. And if your other users cannot see it, we will have to give it some security. So the next thing before we give it security is validate your data. I would spot check a few records, especially ones that you know the payment, you know what the invoice was. And in here, I've given you an example of, this new smart list that I've created is telling me that this Sky Labs voucher 162 was paid off by check number 15,004. So I go and I actually pull up in my inquiry Sky Labs. I find 1504 and I take a look. Yep, that's the right amount. And then I drill in. Did it not give me that? Here it is. So over here in my second, I lied about 1504. These that apply from is always the payment or the credit memo. And it tells me that this 1504 invoice was paid off by these 4 check numbers over time by these amounts. And if I drill in, I can see, oh, yep, there it is. There it is for 4,000. There's the second one for 6,500, which means my list must be working because it is matching my inquiry screen. So validation is important. Don't just trust it right off the bat. I never do. I always have to double check, make sure it's working. So that was a payable side. Do we have any questions? Nicole, do you see any questions out there?
No questions yet. As a reminder, if you do have one, feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll be watching for them.
Yep. Or if you think I'm going too fast, you can tell me. You will not hurt my feelings. I'm trying to get through all of the stuff all of the information I want to give you in the time that we have. So now we're going to talk about the receivable side. We just talked about the payables apply to, and now we're going to shift from payables to receivables. So this is going to be, I have sent some invoices to my customers. Have they paid me yet? Have they sent me money? Because at the end of the day, that's why we're all in business. So this one, I still go back to my resource descriptions, which is tools, resource descriptions, tables. And that is in one of my first slides. Then instead of looking at sales, instead of looking at purchasing, I look at sales. So in this one, we are going to pull our RM open. That means it's been posted. It could have been paid, but nobody has run the paid transaction removal yet, because receivables behaves a little differently than purchasing. So anything in this table is everything that may have been paid, hasn't been paid, but no one has run paid transaction removal yet. Then the second file that I point out here is RM apply open. Again, open stuff, not history stuff. And I do point out down below that we do have history and apply history. So if we need to look at history instead, or if you want to combine them all, again, we can help you with that. And we are going to start a new SmartList designer by clicking the new button in our SmartList app, feature. So once again, a little repetition here. We give it a name. We choose our series. This one's going to go in the sales section of your SmartList. And then we find Microsoft Dynamics GP in the list of objects, and we expand that. Once we expand that, we see a multitude of tables. And since we've gone and looked up our tables, we know what their names are. And we also know that they're in alphabetical order. So we find our first table, RM open. So you can see, I found it right here, and I've gone through and checked the fields that I want to be included. In mine, I've done customer number. If you guys use the corporate customer number, the parent-child type thing, I put that in there. Document number, that's going to be your invoice number. I grabbed check number just in case it's a cash receipt that's coming through. I like to see batch numbers and batch sources. You don't have to. The RM document type, again, document types are important when we're looking at databases and building reports and linking things together. The type of document it is always has to be included. And then I go to some dates. We've got due dates, document dates, GL posting date, not to be confused with post date, which you see here. Post date means that's the date somebody actually pushed the button to post it. GL posting date is the date you've told it, commit this to the financials and show up in that month when I print my financial statements. And document date is the date that gets used on the aging. So we selected all of our fields here, and we're going to go and get our apply table. So now we scroll through our list again, and I think we have to go up again because alphabetical.
Hey, Natalie.
Yes.
We have a question from someone who is following along real quick, and he said the new icon is grayed out. Does that mean that he does not have access?
So the new icon is grayed out. It probably, yes, security should, you'll have to talk to your GP admin to allow you to click that button.
Okay.
All right. So back to, we've scrolled up because alphabetically RM apply comes before RM open. So we go find our RM apply open, and then we expand it and choose the fields we want. And I will repeat myself again. If you check the box next to the table name, it selects everything. And like I said, there are a lot of fields in there. It's easier to check the ones you do like, you do want, than it is to uncheck all the fields you don't want. So in this one, since it's the apply, and again, back to our keywords, apply to and apply from. So this one, I am checking apply to amounts. And you know, if you guys take discounts, if you take write-offs, you can grab that too. I have grabbed, to think about this. So our RM open has our invoices. That is the apply to document number. So in here, I do want, even though I don't have it checked, I do want to look at apply to, because that's going to be part of my linking. And then way down the list, I want to look at the apply froms. The apply froms are going to tell you what the cash receipt was that came in, the date that you put on it when you posted it, the amount, the check number or ACH number, or however you numbered it. So apply from is going to be a field we definitely want to see. Let me click to the next slide. And I show you the apply froms in here. So you can see, even though I don't, taking a quick look at this, what we have. So once we grab this and we pick our fields, then we can choose our links. So as I pointed out right here, we are going to do document number, which is our invoice number, to the apply from document number. I'm thinking about that. That might be wrong. I feel like that should be applied to. Then we do our customer number to customer number, and we do our document type to document type. And I point out down, oops, I didn't mean to click on that. I point out down here that we always want to use a left join. Again, with my repetition, I talk about apply to, what that means, apply from, and why we're choosing it. Some people choose to go the opposite way. They want to see all the cash that came in and what the cash was applied to. It does depend on what you use in the left column and how you join it to the right columns. The one on the left is always going to be the one where you get all the data, and the one on the right is going to be where it finds something that matches. Then I again point out that we want to click the execute query. We want to make sure data shows up in our little testing section. Once we have data that shows up there and we like it, then we click OK. And we have another new SmartList, which we can then put searches on, save favorites for it, filter it any way that you like with the fields that you have included. And I will point out again, we validate our data. I cannot stress this enough, because I would hate to have you roll this out to other users who are depending on it and they trust it and think it's right, and then they move forward with it and it's not correct. So we always validate. We always spot check 2 or 3, maybe we find some ugly ones that were applied to a whole bunch of documents, make sure they are all correct. In this particular case, I have a return here, and I go and I look at the return and I say, what was it applied to? And I can see that this return was applied to these 3 invoices. Actually, that one looks like a credit memo for these amounts. And then down here, I double check it. Yes, the amounts look correct. They match up with the document numbers. I feel good about it. So now it's time to talk about security. So you've rolled it out. If everybody has power user, you can be done. But if everybody does not have power user, you most likely will have to go and find whatever security object you use to expose your SmartList to your users. And every time I log into a client and I try to find this, it's always different. Everybody likes to create their own custom security roles around SmartList that meet their needs. You know, however you break up your duties and the things you allow your users to see and not to see, that kind of thing. So in this one, I really only point out once you figure out which security task holds all of your smart lists, or let's say your receivable smart lists, then you will go and find it. Once you bring it up, if you don't have one, you might need to create one. And again, something we can help you with. In these little selectors, when you pop it up, these little selectors will not be there. So product, you want to choose smart list. Type, again, you're going to choose smart list. Series, smart list again. We always have user type full. Once you choose all of those, every smart list you have will populate in this section below. They're alphabetical. So if you remember what you named your smart list, if you go and look, there it is. Check the box, let the people see it, save it, make sure that they do have this security task in one of the roles that they are assigned to. And then you're done. So to recap, finding the tables is important before you get started, or, you can get started and then go look them up, but you're going to need to figure out which tables you want to use. The examples that I gave you only pointed out, invoice document information and the apply to document information. If you're looking to get GL accounts in there, there are also some distribution tables that you can link in if you want to get more complicated with your list. I'll say it again. You're probably sick of hearing me say it, but validate your results so that you can trust the list. And then add it to security so that the people who need to work with it and use it as a tool to help them reconcile or do collections, or however they're going to use this information so that they can see it. Now, I will tell you that resource descriptions is what I pointed out to you during these slides. Other resources that you can use to look for this type of information. If you've ever done any Googling about GP tables, you've definitely seen Victoria Uden. She really breaks it down. Her websites, I use them. I have some of the data pasted into my OneNote. She just makes it simple. So she's definitely worth the look if you're not entirely sure what table you should be using, what fields are in that table. It gives you doc types in the table, but they are all numbers and you're not sure what they mean. She does have those lists out there and it spells it out perfectly. And those are things that, I've shown you how to build a simple apply smart list. If you want it to be really fancy and have pretty words in it, that can also be done with a little more work. Google or GPUG, I think we've all found some answers in Google, and then GPUG has great forums that you can find answers in and discussions. So that concludes how to build apply smart lists. And I am going to hand this back to Margaret to talk about some other items. And if you do have questions, do not hesitate to raise your hand or throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. Margaret?
All right. And actually, I think that Nicole was going to go through some of these other slides that we have. However, I would like to invite lots of people, go in and enroll now for the upcoming webinars that we have for the September webinar highlighting Solver, and then also for our October one, which is 1 week early due to Summit, that will focus on Rockton for 5 tools that they have to unlock some potential that you have within GP that you may not know that you could be really helpful for your system. November and December are going to focus on payroll and GP module year-end closing. So we will have likely one in December and one in November. However, we're looking at those dates and we'll get back to you on that. So Nicole, any others?
Just one thing, we do have one question in the Q&A from Jamie here. It says, did you click within the smart list to drill down?
Oh, let's go back for a second to that create the smart list. So there is a button right up here. Can you guys see my mouse? Margaret, can you
Yes.
see? Okay,
Yes.
good. So there is a button called go-tos, which you can create a drill down for. They're a little finicky. Because I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a cheater, but I use SmartList Builder for most of the stuff that I do. And SmartList Builder has all these built-in drill tools, but you do have to add them. It's doable and you can do it. I did not cover it in my slides today, but let's see. I'm gonna see if I can in here. So this is my GP. I know we looked at it earlier today. It's really small, but this is the only screen that would cooperate with me. Let me go find this guy. I'll go to the modify. And if I go up here to go to, I have to add one. So they don't, in this tool, because it's such a basic tool that they give you, people were buying SmartList Builder all over the place. And then Microsoft said, hey, we'll throw something out there and give you guys a little bit of that. They just didn't give you all of it. So if you do go through, which one did I choose? I chose purchasing, SmartList, payables transaction. We'll say this is, I'm just going to call it drill down. I have not tried this yet to see if it works. So you guys are going to be guinea pigs with me. So there's my smart list. And now if I double click, it does nothing. Oh, wait, go to. Let's see if this. No, all that does is take me to another smart list. So I might have to play around with that and get back to you because I have never tried to make them work in this smart list designer tool. Let me bring this back up. I am going to make a note of it on my side. And Margaret, do we ever, or Nicole, do we have contact information that we could put that out there?
Yeah, we can circle back.
Okay. And let me find the slide that we really want to be on. All right, we're here, and our next slide is Power Platform. I'm not sure if we want to talk about that, Nicole. Do we have any other questions, though, before I get ahead?
I don't see any other in the chat or any other in the Q&A section. Again, if you think of any, please feel free to reach out. We do have a lot of resources available for our Microsoft clients. For those of you who are looking to extend the capabilities of your GP instance, you can look to things like Power Platform. Power Platform is part of the Microsoft Data Fabric and can connect seamlessly with your GP instance and lots of other applications. So feel free to check that out on our website, more about Power Platforms. You can go next. For those attending Dynamics Community Summit coming up in October in San Antonio, LBMC Technology Solutions will again be exhibiting on the show floor. And so you can have a 10% discount for your registration using the promo code LBMC10. If you are going to be in San Antonio for Community Summit, make sure you come by and visit us at our booth or catch any of the several speaking sessions that our GP, Business Central, Power Platform, and CRM consultants will be hosting. Hope to see you there. We'll also be hosting a customer dinner in San Antonio while we're there. That'll be on the Sunday evening to kick off Community Summit at Zinc Bistro, which is down on the Riverwalk. Please reach out to your either strategic account manager or one of the consultants who are attending, and we can make sure to get you on the list. If you've been hearing all the news about AI and Copilot, we do have a new Copilot practice that's dedicated to help you leverage all of your AI needs in the Microsoft platform. You can visit more information for Copilot on our website and additional resources coming up following this event. And last but not least, we have to talk about the future of ERP. So while we enjoy continuing education with our GP client base, we do also want to help you as you kind of navigate the future choices that you need to make. So a few upcoming a few of the solutions that we offer are our hosted GP for our GP clients. If you're ready to move off that on-prem server, LBMC Technology Solutions can host GP for you. We also are certified and have a great D365 Business Central team to help migrate people from GP to BC. We also have a great Sage Intacct practice if that's a better fit for you. So as you're navigating these waters and making the most of your GP instance, we're here to help you for the now and the foreseeable future. And we just want to thank you for attending today's session. We always like to host these for our clients and want to make sure that you're getting the most value out of your technology investments. And we're here to help every step of the way. So thank you for attending, and we hope to see you at future GP sessions. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or any needs that you might have.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Natalie. Thank you, everyone.